with a 10-game road winning streak, hopefully 11, in Sacramento on Thursday night, juxtaposed with the 4-game losing streak. And it even feels some of your players are a little conflicted with those emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Personally, for me, I don't really look back at 23 games and have emotional responses to all of them. I know we've won 17 of them. If we win them on the road or win them at home, the allotment of wins at the end of the year is the whole point of getting into the tournament. It's been a weird, odd way to do it. Obviously winning the road games we have, and then coming home for one, and it seems like we lose a tough game, and then we go back on the road, and then you see us again 10 days later. So yeah, it's been an odd start with an odd schedule, but a lot of teams have dealt with it. But I'll take the 17-6. I won't try to define how we got there. I just know that we're there.
And sit back, and I'm trying to pull up the schedule to look at it exactly. And I say this, and people don't understand this. When you get on the road, especially we just came out the 3-game road trip, and you're on the road for 5-6 days. You've got one after Christmas where I think, David, we're on the road for like 12 or 13 days. You play 7 games. It's a routine. It's a wake up at this time, meeting at this time, dinners at this time, lunch is here, practice right here, buses go to the game, bus back to the hotel, dinner, boom, boom, boom. And it's a repetitive, controlled environment for those 12 or 13 days that you're going to have. Then all of a sudden you get home and you get, by the way, you haven't paid bills in 2 weeks. Your kids haven't seen you in 3 or 4 days or a week or so. And yeah, we got in at 3:30 in the morning, but, little Johnny or little Susie doesn't realize that at 6:30 when they're just excited to see Dad getting home. And all of a sudden the real world catches up with you, and all of a sudden basketball loses focus a little bit. Your dad probably saw that in the years he's coaching. You probably saw it as an assistant going up. But that's just the true nature of what the NBA long season is like, isn't it?
No question. And it's also just, I think sometimes you forget that because we're an NBA basketball team, you forget that we're also grown adults. This isn't like so we do have lives, and you do come home to it. And the last few times you come home, honestly, the only thing I could think of was, seeing my family for a second, washing my clothes and repacking to leave. And in the meantime, let's play a game before we fly out. So we just have to find a way to fight through it. And to your point, there is something to be said for repetitive schedules. And I brought this up last week. We've lost these games at home. I also remember the week we played 4 games. We were here for a week, and we were dominant. And, you had a schedule. You had something you were sticking to. I had a good feel for what was good for the guys that week, because you're not up against, what is coming and time zone changes and all those things. So there really is something to it. And I think you have to remember back in the day, it used to be you go out and you'd play 4 games on the road, and you come home and you'd play 4 or 5 at home. And that's just how they managed the schedule. You used to go to Texas and play all 3 teams. But that's not what this is anymore. So, it is what it is. And I'm just really proud of the guys that their response to some tough losses here in Denver have been very mature. And, we lost that game, but, you go to the next game and it counts exactly the same as the game you just played, regardless of the gym that you're playing in. So it's been a really veteran response. No excuses from the guys. That's why we're 17-6, and no excuses with the guys that are out. It's just been a professional approach throughout.
Coach, Scott and I were talking off air, just saying, could you imagine if Nikola Jokic ended up at the line 10 or 11 times per game like SGA? And, I promise not trying to get you in trouble with the league on this, but what would be your theory as to why he doesn't end up at the line as often as some other guys?
I suppose his size. We always ask questions about how they ref a perimeter player that shoots a 3-point shot as opposed to how you ref a guy shooting a jump hook or a floater, and what constitutes illegal contact and why the two are different. So, it's one of those things you're just looking for answers because you want him to have the best information possible to be as successful as he can be. Yeah. And so there's nights, there are nights where you feel confused on, illegal contact, whether you're 7 feet tall and whatever Nikola weighs, or you're, a small perimeter player that can really handle and shoot. There's nights it's frustrating. You're right. You're not going to get me in trouble with the league, so I'm not going to go there. There's been some frustrating nights where I feel like maybe he's earned maybe some more trips to the line. If that was the case, the scoring would be something we've probably never seen before with the assists and rebounds. The allotment that he's showing out every night. So it's just have to stay with it. I'm trying to find ways on the floor or places on the floor where he can catch the ball and he can be seen as more of a perimeter player, if that makes sense. Because I feel like the game's officiated differently out there than it is near the basket. So it's one of those things, we just have to keep working at it. And it's up to me to try to find him places on the floor where he can, maybe shows the official the contact that he's taking as opposed to close to the basket where things, people get away with some things.
Why did you call the win against Charlotte, David Adelman, head coach of the Nuggets, is our guest, why did you call that the most satisfying win of the year?
I just felt like that was a game teams lose. It's the back end of the trip. It's the back end of a really odd schedule. It's a 6 p.m. game in Charlotte. The NFL's on. The crowd's not really into the game. It's an easy game. And over the years, if you guys remember, we've lost there.
Yep.
We got lucky there last year, 1-1. Nicola got an and one. And it's just one of those games you can feel it. Like you can feel that this could be a tough one, just getting up for the game itself. And I just felt we kept our energy throughout. It was a very professional win. Once we got ahead in the third quarter, I felt like we just did our job. And, when you go through a season like that, the Avs go through this too with their 82. There's nights where it's just win the game and do what you have to do to win that game and get out of town. And we did that. And I think I said it after the game and today with the media, but it was also weird to score 115 and win because we've been scoring the ball so well. So it wasn't like it was an easy night for us where everything's going in. It was a Jamal Murray show early, and then I thought it was a very solid effort defensively. And as the game went on, we just took care of business. So it's just a good NBA win. It's hard to explain, but there was a lot of factors going into it that worried me, and I thought the guys handled it the right.
Plus, you had two emotional wins right before that with just amazing performances. I want to take you back to the Atlanta game. First time this year you've kind of seen the team come out that flat and the other team just really get into it. I thought they made a cardinal mistake, really challenging a couple minor things early with a 19-point lead. End up hurting them because they didn't have anything to use late in the game. But that being said, when did you know in that third quarter, we might still have a chance right here? Was there ever a moment in that third quarter you went, okay?
Yeah, at halftime, we decided not to show any clips. We just went and talked. And it just was a general conversation about what they just did to us in the first half. Well, there's the same amount of time in the second half, and we all know the NBA games are so long, and there's a run to be made. And then I thought the guys focused from the get-go in that quarter, not just the shot making, but we picked up defensively. We kind of hurried their offense up a bit, as opposed to I felt like they played downhill the whole first half. I felt like we made them play uphill the first 6 minutes of that third quarter, and all of a sudden you're right in the game. And then when Coach Snyder had to call multiple timeouts, now they're really up against six. He's got to save a few for the end of the game. So it's, there's going to be long stretches and chances to have a big run. So, when you complement what we did to start the quarter with the unit that came in with Cam and Tim getting so hot with Jamal and Jonas in the pick and roll,
Yep.
Just one of those nights, man, where I know we have guys out, but you realize how good your team is and also just how they can walk a game down. I talked about that after the game. Like that's an NBA thing that happens nightly. There's a lot of talented teams out there, and we're one of them. Like we can get hot. And to get 80 in the second half against a really good team was phenomenal by the guys. Like that was an awesome night, a hell of a win against a team that I think has got a chance to win the East when they're fully healthy.
I guess I might be a little bit naive here, so I appreciate you taking this.
Yes.
Well, how much does a coach have to advocate for one of his players when it comes to being an all-star? Because we think clearly Jamal has done what it's taken to get that. But I don't know what your role needs to be, if at all, in anything.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. Like if he's up for a starting spot, I think in my impact, just by reminding people in the media so it gets to the fan vote matters. I know there's a lot of different factors to it. But when it comes to, making the team as a bench member, that is what coaches see. And then some coaches, have relationships with other coaches that they were together. There's a whole San Antonio tree of people. And I do think that factors in a little bit, where there's a relationship with some of the players and other teams, and maybe the voting goes that way. But it's a tough one. But this year in particular, I'm not going to, we got a long way to go here, but the level he's playing at has been whatever you want to call it, super high level. And if that means all-star, he deserves it. And he's been so consistent throughout. I thought Aaron should have made it a few years back, and he missed out. It was very close. And just and I think on top of that, I would hope that there's a little bit of respect to the amount of winning that's gone on here over the years. And obviously Nikola gets the accolades he deserves. But I think a couple of our other guys, sometimes they could, if they were somewhere else, their stats might be a lot more attractive to people, but they're doing it here and they're winning a bunch of games. They're in the playoffs every year. I hope there's some respect given to that as well, beyond how good 27 has played, through the first couple months of the season.
Hey, that being said, and I always hate to ask these questions, hopeful to get maybe Aaron, you mentioned Aaron and Christian back before the new year?
Yeah, I think that the hope is right there, somewhere in that mix. We go on that trip that just goes forever.
Yeah.
I would hope to see, if everything goes correctly with the rehab, you know how it is. You're going to have ups and downs to the rehab. It would be nice on that trip to see one, or if not both, guys get back. For me, selfishly, I also have to figure out the rotation. So when we get those guys back, it'll be, we'll have to feel it out. And I think I'm going to have to look at how we've done things with them out, and, who's going to fit and who's going to complement, the rotation when we get them back. Because we had a sweet spot early in the season, and of course both guys go down, and that puts everything out of whack. So the earlier we can get them back when they're ready, the better off we're going to be, so we can kind of figure out what our team's going to be going in the second half of the season.
Is Strawther on that same timetable, or is
he
that
was
a little
warming
different?
up last game?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he looks, and again, he's getting more to the contact part of it, but the back is so, you never know with your back.
Okay.
Yep.
And so they got to take him through the proper procedures. But I'm hoping, if everything is going the way it's going right now, there's a lot of positive energy to him coming back soon.
Hey, have you gotten to the mall? Have you taken this little couple of days and done any Christmas shopping at all?
Yeah, and I had I had birthdays this week too in the family, so it was that my wallet's a little light. But I've been trying to take advantage of that, because as we're just kind of moving around so much that got to get ahead of that stuff. But yeah, I'll definitely. I always find a way. Amazon always helps.
Oh, they're the best.
They're the
best.
Yeah. I don't mind that they're making that much money, because that really helps out.
It's really, really good. All right, Coach, welcome home. Make sure you get on a plane tomorrow and go to Sacramento, because nothing sends joy like playing the Sacramento Kings for the fourth time.
Yeah,
so.
Man, it's like a playoff series.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
I gotcha. Thanks, Coach. We'll talk to you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.